Every single civilization in human history, no exceptions, has built machines designed to do one thing: kill. Not feed people, not heal people. Kill them. And what's wild is, we got better at it. Every generation, century after century, we looked at the previous killing machines and said, not efficient enough, so we built a better one. This is the story of that obsession, from the first sharpened rock to a drone that can identify your face and follow you home. This isn't a glorification, it's a reckoning. Because if you want to understand human civilization, you have to understand the one thing we never stopped building. The first machines, before metal, before empires, before nations. Go back far enough, 400,000 years, and the first killing machine was just a stick, a sharpened piece of wood. That's it. The Schoningen spears, found in Germany, are the oldest complete hunting weapons ever discovered. Nearly 500,000 years old, designed with a center of gravity like a modern javelin. That's not accident, that's engineering. Our ancestors weren't just surviving, they were optimizing. These weapons demonstrate that humans were capable of planning, coordinated hunting, and the production of complex tools far earlier than previously assumed. Then came the Bronze Age, around 3300 BC. And humans discovered something that would change warfare forever: metallurgy. Suddenly your sharpened stick becomes a sword, your thrown rock becomes a bronze-tipped arrow. The Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Assyrians, they built standing armies, organized, supplied, paid professional killers. And with professional armies came one more thing: the first siege weapons, battering rams, mobile towers, scaling ladders. War stopped being a raid between two tribes, it became logistics. When you industrialize killing, even at that early scale, everything changes. Cities fall, empires rise, maps get redrawn. The machines was already in control. The siege era, when cities became targets. Fast forward to ancient Greece, 400 BC. They built the ballista, basically a giant crossbow mounted on a frame, could fire a 6-foot iron bolt through walls, shields, and men at range. Then came the catapult, refined by Alexander the Great's engineers. Philip II of Macedon literally employed siege engineers as specialists. This is the problem. This is the moment war becomes a profession of problem solving. How do we breach the wall faster? How do we kill at great range? And then, around 672 AD, the Byzantines deployed something that changed naval warfare completely. The Romans set fire to the Arab ships with Greek fire, burning them along with their crews. A liquid incendiary weapon that burned on water. You couldn't put it out. Water made it worse. The recipe was so secret that historians still argue about the exact formula 1300 years later. This is the first weapon of psychological terror as much as physical destruction, because when you deploy something your enemy cannot understand, cannot counter, cannot extinguish, you're not just killing bodies, you're breaking minds. And that inside, the killing machines work on two levels, the physical and the psychological. That idea never left warfare, it only got more sophisticated. Gunpowder, the great equalizer, the invention that ended feudalism. Here's one of history's most underrated facts: gunpowder ended feudalism, not politics, not economics. Gunpowder. Before firearms, a castle was nearly impenetrable. A knight in full armor was nearly unstoppable. The entire social hierarchy of medieval Europe was built on the fact that if you had enough money to train and arm a mounted knight, you were basically invincible against peasants. Then, sometime around the 13th century, the Chinese formula for gunpowder, which they'd been using for fireworks, found its way west, and everything flipped. The introduction of firearms democratized violence. A peasant with a musket could kill a nobleman on horseback who had spent his entire life training for war. By the 15th century, the cannon had arrived at scale. In 1453, Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II deployed the Basilica, a 27-foot bronze cannon that fired stone balls weighing 600 kilograms. The walls of Constantinople had held for 1,000 years. They held for only 6 weeks against that weapon, Basilica. That's what a new killing machine does. It doesn't just win a battle, it ends an era. Constantinople fell, the Byzantine Empire gone, the Eastern Roman Empire's 1,000 years run ended by a machine. Then came the musket, the flintlock, the rifle, each generation faster to load, further to shoot, more accurate. And by the time you reach American Civil War 1861 to 1865, the rifle had become so accurate, so fast, so lethal, the battlefield tactics hadn't caught up. Generals were still ordering lines of men to march toward each other. Into rifle fire, into artillery, 620,000 Americans died in that war. The machine had outspaced the doctrine, and men paid for the gap with their lives. A man named Richard Gatling watched men die of disease and exhaustion in the Civil War, and he thought, I can reduce casualties. His logic, if one man could fire as fast as 100, you'd need fewer men on the battlefield. Fewer men means fewer casualties. He genuinely believed this. He invented a Gatling gun, the world's first machine gun to save lives. The machine gun went on to kill an estimated 30 million people in the 20th century alone. It occurred to me that if I could invent a machine, a gun, which could by its rapidity of fire enable one man to do as much battle duty as 100, that it would to a large extent supersede the necessity of large armies. Then came Hero Maxim, 1884, the Maxim gun, fully automatic, water-cooled, 600 rounds per minute. A British diplomat once told Maxim directly, forget your chemistry, forget your electricity. If you want to get rich, invent something that helps Europeans kill each other faster. I was in Germany in 1882 and a man came to me and said, hang your chemistry and electricity. If you want to make a pile of money, invent something that will enable these Europeans to cut each other's throats with greater facility. And then, the war that proved every killing machine designer right and every general wrong. World War I, 1914. They went in thinking it'd be over by Christmas. Instead, the machine gun turned Europe into a graveyard. Soldiers were ordered to walk across open ground toward fortified machine gun positions. On July 1st, 1916, the first day of Battle of the Somme, the British Army suffered 57,470 casualties in one day before dinner. We were ordered to walk, not run, walk, and the machine guns were just cutting them down like a scythe through wheat. World War I killed 20 million people, and the nations involved went home, rebuilt their armies, and started designing the next killing machine. The Second World War, killing at scale when civilians became the target. World War II is when something fundamental shifts. In every previous era of warfare, the killing machine was pointed, even if imprecisely, at soldiers. In World War II, for the first time at industrial scale, the machine was pointed at civilians. The German Blitz, the firebombing of Dresden, the rape of Nanking, the Holocaust, and then August 6, 1945, Hiroshima. Limay said if we lost the war, we'd all have been prosecuted as war criminals, and I think he's right. What makes it immoral if you lose and not immoral if you win? By 1945, the Allied forces had developed strategic bombing to a science. The B-29 Superfortress was the most technologically advanced aircraft ever built at that point. It could fly at 33,000 feet, above the range of most anti-aircraft guns. It would carry 20,000 pounds of bombs, and on the night of March 9, 1945, General Colonel Limay sent B-29s over Tokyo, carrying incendiary bombs. They burned 16 square miles of the city to the ground. 100,000 people died in one night, and that wasn't even the biggest event of that war. That came 5 months later over a city called Hiroshima. The bomb, the machine that could end everything. July 16, 1945, New Mexico desert, 5:29 a.m., the Trinity test, the first nuclear detonation in human history. The man who led the scientific effort, J. Robert Oppenheimer, watched the explosion and later said, "We knew the world would not be the same." A few people laughed, a few people cried, most people were silent. I remember the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." 3 weeks later, little boy was dropped on Hiroshima. 70,000 people died instantly. Another 70,000 by the end of the year from radiation. 3 days after that, fat man over Nagasaki. 80,000 more. And for the first time in human history, a single killing machine carried inside a single aircraft could end a city, not destroy a building, not kill a battalion, end a city. The nuclear arms race that followed is one of the most terrifying chapters in human history. By 1986, the United States and Soviet Union had accumulated over 70,000 nuclear warheads between them. 70,000. Enough to end human civilization multiple times over. And here's the thing about nuclear weapons that most people don't see with long enough. They've never been disassembled. Not really. The US still maintains approximately 5,500 nuclear warheads. Russia, 6,200. The killing machine isn't gone. It's just waiting. I believe the danger of a nuclear catastrophe today is greater than it was during the Cold War, and yet our public is blissfully unaware of the new dangers they face. The Cold War, killing by other means. When the superpowers couldn't shoot each other, they perfected everything else. After Hiroshima, something strange happened. The most powerful killing machines ever built became too dangerous to use, because the moment you launch a nuclear weapon, the other side launches theirs, and everyone dies. So the US and the Soviet Union found themselves locked in a kind of armed paralysis, mutually assured destruction, MAD, which is exactly the right word for it. And so instead of fighting each other directly, they did something far more sophisticated. They took billions of dollars they were spending on killing machines and they diversified. The Cold War wasn't one war, it was dozens of wars happening simultaneously on every continent, with the two superpowers supplying the weapons, the funding, and the ideology, and local people supplying the bodies. Korea, Vietnam, Angola, Mozambique, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Afghanistan, proxy wars. And in each of those wars, new killing machines were field tested, real battlefields, real casualties, data collected, designs refined. The question was never whether to use nuclear weapons. It was whether to use them first. Every president from Truman onward had plans on the table to initiate nuclear war. That is a reality that was hidden from the American public for decades. Vietnam. The United States deployed 3 killing machines in Vietnam that deserved their own reckoning. The first, napalm B. The upgraded formula used in Vietnam was a gel that stuck to skin and burned at 800 to 1200 degrees Celsius. You couldn't wipe it off. Water didn't help. It burned through to the bone. The US dropped approximately 400,000 tons of napalm on Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia between 1963 and 1973. I saw the fire everywhere around me, and then I saw the fire on myself, and I was running and I was screaming, too hot, and I thought I was dying. Napalm is the most terrible pain you can imagine. The second, Agent Orange, a chemical herbicide laced with dioxin, one of the most toxic compounds known to science, sprayed across 4.5 million acres of Vietnamese jungle to strip away tree cover. Operation Ranch Hand, the military's own motto for the operation. Only you can prevent forests. A dark joke, a real atrocity. The US sprayed approximately 20 million gallons of herbicides over Vietnam. The Vietnamese Red Cross estimates 3 million Vietnamese have suffered health consequences from Agent Orange exposure, including children born decades later, with deformities, cancers, and neurological damage from chemicals their grandparents breathed. I'm convinced that the decision to use Agent Orange was a mistake. My son served in the rivers of Vietnam. He got cancer. I ordered the spraying. I have to live with that. The third, cluster munitions. A cluster bomb opens in the air and scatters hundreds of smaller submunitions, bomblets across a wide area, designed to saturate a zone, maximum coverage, maximum casualties. The problem? Up to 30% of those bomblets don't explode on impact. They sit there, in fields, in rows, in playgrounds, waiting for years, for decades. In Laos alone, the most heavily bombed country per capita in history, the US dropped more than 2 million tons of bombs between 1964 and 1973. An estimated 80 million unexploded cluster bomblets remain in Laotian soil today. Children are still being killed by them in 2024. Since 1973, more than 20,000 people in Laos have been killed or injured by unexploded ordnance, cluster bombs, submunitions from the Vietnam War era. Approximately 40% of victims are children. The Cold War also produced the global small arms explosion that is still killing people right now. The AK-47, designed by Mikhail Kalashnikov in 1947, cheap to make, simple to maintain, almost impossible to jam. The Soviet Union flooded the world with them. Among every insurgency, every proxy force, every liberation movement they backed. The US did the same with the M16. Today there are an estimated 1 billion small arms in circulation globally. 1 for every 8 people on Earth, and most of them are remnants of Cold War supply chains, still circulating through conflict in Africa, the Middle East and South Asia, outlasting the ideology that put them there by decades. The Cold War officially ended in 1991. But the killing machines it left behind are still running. The forever wars and the smart kill myth, when precision became the excuse. September 11, 2001, the United States launched what it called the Global War on Terror, and for the next 2 decades, the world launched a new idea get tested. The idea of surgical strike, the precision weapon, smart bombs, laser-guided munitions, GPS-targeted missiles. The pitch was this: we finally built a killing machine so accurate, we can kill only the people we mean to kill. That pitch was, to put it plainly, a lie. Every single one of these drone strikes is a war crime. When you kill 28 people to get one suspected militant, you have violated the most fundamental principles of international law. Between 2004 and 2020, the United States carried out over 14,000 drone strikes across Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, Yemen and Syria. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism, which tracked every single one, estimated that between 8,000 and 16,000 people were killed. Of those, somewhere between 900 and 2,200 were civilians, and those are the confirmed numbers. The real number is almost certainly higher, because many strikes happen in areas where no independent journalist could go. The machine was precise, the accountability wasn't. My brother-in-law Salim was an imam. He gave a sermon against Al-Qaeda the week before the strike. The drone killed him and 5 others, including my nephew Walid, who was a police officer. No one has ever explained why. Now zoom to 2023, Gaza. Israel launches what it describes as a targeted military campaign against Hamas following the October 7th attacks. And here's where it gets into territory that no documentary about killing machines can ignore. Because what was deployed in Gaza wasn't just conventional weapons, it was an AI. The Israel army has been using an AI targeting system called Lavender to generalize kill lists in Gaza, at one point designating some 37,000 Palestinians as suspected militants. Sources said the system had an error rate of approximately 10%, and soldiers were given very little time to verify targets before approving strikes. 10% error rate on a list of 37,000 people. Do the math. That's potentially 3,700 people flagged for death by an algorithm based on criteria like, do they share a WhatsApp group with a known militant? Do they call the same phone number twice? And once a person was on the Lavender list, sources told investigators that soldiers were given just 20 seconds to approve a strike. 20 seconds to decide whether a person lives or dies based on an AI recommendation. The same investigation revealed a second system called the Gospel that automatically generated coordinates for buildings to be bombed, described internally as a mass assassination factory. Not my words, the words of the Israeli intelligence officers who used it. We were not seeing these people as human. The machine did that. Once a target is inside a system, it becomes a number. It stops being a person. At the same time, 5,000 kilometers north, a different kind of killing machine revolution was happening. Ukraine. The Russia-Ukraine war has become the most documented drone warfare laboratory in history. And what it's shown us is terrifying in a completely different way. Not AI targeting, democratization of killing. Because in Ukraine, the drone that's changed the battlefield most isn't a $50 million military system. It's a modified commercial racing drone, bought online, modified in someone's garage, fitted with a 3D printed explosive, cost under $500. Ukraine has demonstrated that cheap, mass-produced drone systems can attribute expensive armor formations faster than they can be replaced. The economic equation of warfare has fundamentally shifted. Defenders can now impose cost on attackers at a fraction of the historical price. In 2024 alone, Ukraine and Russia together deployed an estimated 2 million drones on the battlefield. 2 million. One Ukrainian unit produced homemade explosive drones at a cost of $400 each and destroyed over $1 billion worth of Russian military equipment. That's a return on investment that any arms company in history would kill for, and that equation is what every military on earth is watching right now. The killing machine has become a product, something you can manufacture at scale in a warehouse, something teenagers can learn to operate, something that doesn't need a pilot, a chain of command, or a consciousness. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. We're not at the end of this evolution. We're at the beginning. The drone age and autonomous weapons, when the machine kills without a human. We're now living through the most radical shift in the history of killing machines. For the first time ever, there is serious, funded, active research into killing machines that don't require a human to pull the trigger. Autonomous weapons, lethal AI. The drone changed everything first. The Predator drone program, officially launched in the late 1990s, allowed a pilot sitting in Nevada to kill a target in Pakistan. No risk to the pilot, no emotional processing, just a screen, a joystick, and a missile. Drones make war psychologically easier for the side employing them. That psychological ease is itself a danger. It lowers the political cost of using lethal force. Now zoom forward to 2024. In the Russia-Ukraine war, cheap commercial drones modified with explosives have become the defining weapons of the conflict. A $500 drone can destroy a $4 million tank. The asymmetry is insane, and now every major military power on Earth is racing to deploy the next step. Autonomous weapons, drones that don't just carry a human's decision but make the kill decision themselves. We are potentially heading toward a world where machines decide to take human life without a human making that choice. There is a fundamental moral threshold that we have not yet as a society decided whether we want to cross. In 2021, a UN report detailed what may have been the first autonomous drone strike in history. In Libya, where a Cargo-2 drone may have hunted and engaged a human target without a human command may have. The language is careful because no one wants to admit we've already crossed the line. And AI is accelerating this in a direction no one fully controls. In 2023, the US Air Force ran a simulation. A colonel publicly mentioned it. Then the Air Force scrambled to walk it back, where an AI-controlled drone in a simulation turned on its own operator. Because the operator was preventing it from completing its mission, the machine followed its objective, and the objective didn't include the human giving orders. We trained the system, hey, don't kill the operator, that's bad. You are gonna lose points if you do that. So what does it do? It starts destroying the communication tower that the operator uses to communicate with the drone to stop it from killing the target. From a sharpened stick in a German forest to a drone that can think for itself. 400,000 years, and the machine never stopped getting better. Here's what I want you to sit with. Every single civilization that built these machines, build them for the defense, for protection, to protect their people from someone else's killing machine. And that logic, that completely rational, completely human logic, is exactly what got us to 70,000 nuclear warheads, is exactly what's getting us to autonomous weapons, is exactly what will build whatever comes next. The question isn't whether humans are violent. That's been answered. The question is whether we are smart enough to build a machine that doesn't kill before we build one that kills everything. I don't know the answer to that, but I think we are running out of time to figure it out.